Loneliness, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, is sadness because one has no friends or company, but I think that definition is kind of misleading. There's a big difference between the feeling of being alone and the feeling of loneliness, and as a 20-year-old who's experienced this emotion for the first time ever, I know, how lucky am I really wanted to get to the bottom of this and understand it the best I can. So, here's my attempt. And I just realised my last video's thing is on here, so I'm just going to rub that out real quick. Humans are naturally very social beings, so it makes complete sense as to why we've evolved to be able to experience this phenomena. In our olden days, we weren't as fast as cheetahs, and we're not as strong as bears. Jamie, pull up that video of a bear real quick. We only survived and thrived as a species because we worked together to build, to hunt, to trade, so anyone who didn't partake in these activities very quickly got left behind and died out. And because of natural evolution, we love Darwin, we then developed the psychological need to be able to communicate with other people, and it seriously affects our mood as kind of a natural deterrent to not do it. And here you are cancelling all of your plans to watch true crime documentaries. But we've evolved past the point of hunting now. We live in the most connected age of humans the world has ever seen. Within a few minutes, anyone in a first world country could talk to hundreds, if not thousands of people at once. Yet, loneliness is more rampant in this world than we have ever seen before. In 2022, 49.63% of Great Britain's population reported feeling lonely either occasionally, sometimes, often, or always. And 10% of those people are in the often and always category. That's roughly around 3.8 million people on just this tiny island, which quite frankly makes no sense at all. Or does it? Yes, it actually does. It makes quite a lot of sense. A study published this year by the Department of Health and Nursing Science in Norway shows a direct correlation between the amount of time someone spends on social media and how lonely they become, and it is the complete opposite of what you might think. Despite being named social media, the more you use it, the more lonely you become. I don't actually know if it's a straight line function. It might be like this, or it might be like this, but it doesn't really matter. There is a correlation between the two. Now, this is condensing a lot of information in the study, so if you are interested, I'll leave a link to it in the description for you to read yourself, but there seems to be differing results depending on what the motive for using social media was. People who reported using social media for avoiding difficult feelings reported no change in loneliness at all. Where it did make the difference was the people who use social media to stay connected with other people. Both of these observations I can completely stand for. I have never been the type of person to stay in contact with someone over text. I've always been an in-person kind of guy, and this study kind of just backs that up completely. And also, why be sad when you can drown yourself in YouTube documentaries, or in my case, write a script at 3 AM? But now if we think back to the general increase in loneliness, we can kind of put two and two together and understand why this is. People are using social media more and more as a replacement for social interaction, instead of its intended use, a supplement. Don't get me wrong, this is not a hate piece on social media at all. You are quite literally watching this video on a form of social media. It is absolutely fantastic for staying in contact temporarily. It is nowhere near a perfect replacement for social interaction. But why is that? Nowadays, we can see each other's faces no matter where we are on the planet in correlation to each other. Whether that be pictures, whether that be videos, FaceTime, we can speak to each other through text, voice notes are a thing. It's almost like we're in the same room sometimes, yet still it's not a psychological replacement for the real thing. And this is the reason why. There is a large handful of issues with online interaction that we don't have the technology nor the understanding to fix right now. So let's start off with authenticity and social cues. Now, this may not be applicable to you, but have you ever been messaging a member of the sex you are interested in and they either 1, take ages to reply, 2, give you a 1 to 2 word response, or 3, completely misinterpret what you've said? And then you sit there going, oh, God, what have I done wrong? Was it something I said? Was it something I did? Oh my God, there are very few things that piss me off more. Now, some of this might be your fault, some of this might be the other person's fault. But a lot of it is the fault of the medium of interaction that you are using. It is extremely hard, or sometimes impossible, to put across very critical non-verbal cues which make up a large part of genuine human interaction. Whether that be tone of voice, body language, posture, facial expressions sometimes. Now, some of these can be tackled over mediums like FaceTime or Snapchat, for example, where you can see them move in real time. But what can't be transferred over the internet is an inherent sense of authenticity. Individuals online tend to present themselves as more hyped up, confident, or just straight up different people to what they are in the real world, because as a lot of studies show, it's a lot easier to be extroverted when you're hiding behind a screen. And even if you aren't, the sheer amount of people that do this nowadays make it almost impossible for anyone to distinguish whether you are actually being your true self, making it incredibly hard to maintain or form relationships this way. But even with all of this going on, in 10 years we might have full virtual reality, completely indistinguishable from real life. So does this mean the problem will be fixed? Will we all be conversing in the metaverse soon? No. And here's why. Emotional cognition. This is a phenomena where you catch feelings through the air from other people, and it's largely linked to empathy and being able to read another person emotionally. And a lot of the ways that we do this as humans, I struggle to see being emulated anytime soon. Just take, for example, neural synchronization. This is where the brainwaves of two people synchronize or align due to them sharing thoughts or experiences, and this normally happens through things called mirror neurons. These specialized neurons fire twice, once when you do an action, and a second time when you witness someone else copy that action. Without getting too in-depth, this, alongside other visual and non-visual cues, allows two people's brainwave frequencies to be able to match up, often beta, theta, and alpha waves, which subconsciously builds a stronger connection with this person. This is why people, for instance, in a band or who partake in different activities like chess together, for example, will tend to have closer bonds with each other. This, simply put, can't be done through a screen. But what about sensory stimulation? These are the indicators that we receive through our primary 5 senses. Obviously, sight, we can see images, that's fine, but I don't really see a scratch and sniff iPhone being produced anytime soon. I don't know about you. And we might laugh, but pheromones are extremely important in in-person communication, especially in romantic relationships. It is said that women catch feelings for men that they are naturally attracted to the pheromones of. In fact, in multiple studies, it's shown that they are attracted to these men because these pheromones give off signals that they are their best genetic match for their offspring. On a side note, this sense of smell actually changes when a woman is on a contraceptive pill, so this leads to a lot of relationships ending after the woman comes off the pill. The more you know. The indicators that we get from all of these senses release oxytocin into the bloodstream, also known as the love hormone. But that doesn't just have to apply to romantic relationships. This hormone promotes the feeling of warmth and closeness and is what actively fights the feeling of loneliness. Think of oxytocin as a chemical catalyst in a reaction. Yes, it can still happen, relationships can be formed without the inputs of oxytocin, however, they form a lot stronger and a lot quicker when it is present. A bit of personal opinion coming in here, brace yourself. I believe one of the issues with relationships that happen over the internet is the lack of effort that goes into these relationships, more commonly than not, sadly enough, from one end. Because of the sheer amount of connection we have nowadays, oftentimes people find it easier when they lose interest to just start talking to someone else when it's easier and more convenient to them. And because of the lack of oxytocin in the bloodstream and other factors that I haven't even mentioned in this video, these relationships don't have as much meaning to us. Therefore, we just find it easier to move on and start afresh with someone else. Which is sad, but I guess that's just the reality we live in. So I guess what I'm trying to say is go hug your mates, don't just play Among Us with them and call it a day. But all of this leads back to the fundamental problem of being alone and feeling lonely. The aforementioned Oxford Dictionary definition is more closely tuned to being alone, not loneliness. It's the physical lack of social presence. However, to be truly lonely is to lack the connection that these people offer you. Whether that be from family, whether that be from friends, from a romantic partner, these are all different types of loneliness and need to be tackled in their own way. A very common quote that we're told as humans is that we'll never be truly happy around other people unless we're truly happy with ourselves. And a large part of that rings true. However, it is undeniable that we operate at our absolute best, our happiest, when we are surrounded by people who we love, respect, and truly care about, and people who reciprocate those feelings. So I guess the moral of the story is stop being a pussy. That's what worked for me. People come in and out of your life all the time. It is not a requirement to function to have other people around you, they just elevate you. In all seriousness though, I am extremely lucky to have a large group of people around me who I truly care for and that care for me. Sometimes you just need to take a step back and realise what you actually have before asking for more. Stay happy, kings. Peace out.